Institutional Correction Module 3, submitted by Jefferson Balibon, submitted to Mrs. Jill Rose Ador. Studying content on this Module 3, study on institutional agencies in the Philippines, Code of Carantiao, Bilibid Prison, San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm, Iwahig Penal Colony, Correctional Institute for Women, New Bilibid Prison, Davao Penal Colony, Sabdayan Penal Farm, Leyte Regional Prison, Provincial Jail System, Public Attorney Office. Chapter 3, Institutional Agencies in the Philippines. Bureau of Correction. Bureau of Correction is an agency of the Department of Justice which is charged with the custody and rehabilitation of national offenders who have been sentenced to 3 years of imprisonment or more. The agency has its headquarters in the New Bilibid Prison, Reservation in Muntinlupa. Bureau of Correction mandate: the rehabilitation of national prisoners. Bureau of Correction slogan: bringing back the dignity of a man. Bureau of Correction principles: accomplishing its mandated objectives and performing its assigned functions. To confine prisoner by giving them adequate living spaces as the first conditions to be met before effective rehabilitation and programs can be undertaken. To prevent prisoners from committing crime while in custody. To provide treatment according to human basic needs in the prison environment and prohibiting cruel methods, and provide a variety of rehabilitation programs. Bureau of Corrections operating institutions. 1. New Bilibid Prisons, Muntinlupa City. 2. Correctional Institution for Women, Mandaluyong City. 3. Wahig Prison and Penal Farm, Puerto Princesa City. 4. Davao Prison and Penal Farm, Davao del Norte. 5. Sablayan Prison and Penal Farm, Occidental Mindoro. 6. San Roman Prison and Penal Farm, Zamora City. 7. Leyte Regional Prison, Leyte. Institutional programs: inmate work program, healthcare, educational skills training, recreational and sports, religious guidance and behavioral modification using the therapeutic community approach. Protect the public by safekeeping and informing persons under our custody, adhering to international standards of correctional service. A safer society by 2028 through a reformed person integrated by a highly efficient, competent correction service. Core values: God-centered, centering our lives joyfully and dynamic upon the person of God. Vigilance: we are committed to enhance public safety by being responsive to the extreme demands of correction duties. Innovatives: we seek continual advancement in corrections management in order to face emerging challenges and to optimize applications of resources. Integrity: we promote accountability, equity, and inclusiveness by adhering to high ethical and moral standards. Bureau of Prison and Bureau of Corrections logo. The 3K symbolizes the 3 century prisons, the Old Bilibid Prison, San Roman Penal Farm, and the Wahig Penal Colony, integrated into one office of the Bureau of Prisons. The facade of the Bureau of Prisons with the iron bars and the post towers reflected the function of safekeeping on prisoners confined in its custody. The seal signifies the productive and worthwhile activities that an inmate is engaged in while prison. The focus on the education as means of national growth, supported with sports, skills development, and religious activities that will help him assume the new look in life. He is also engaged in various livelihood programs under the creation of agro industries to enable him to have employment opportunities once released. The seal features of rehabilitated inmate while in custody. Part 7, prisons and penal farms through educational, therapeutic, productive approaches and restorative justice. He looks forward to a higher future but would need the assistance of his family and loved ones, the society and the church for him to complete undergo transformation and integrate successfully in the community. The Bureau of Corrections was founded in 1905. The 11 bay leaves, which represent a decade per leaf, refer to the achievement and the development of Bucor. Since its existence, it also covered the 112th anniversary of Bucor, where it is the first ever methodization law upheld in the police. The monk figure represents the person deprived in library or PDL who had undergone security and effective rehabilitation programs. Through meaningful justice, it is about to release from prison facing the east, where the sun rises, which represent the free society and symbolize new hope. The 7 rays of the sun further symbolize the 7 operating prison and the penal farms of Bucor. Legal basis. The Bureau of Prisons was established on November 1, 1905 under the Department of Public Instruction through the Organization Act of 1407 of the Philippine Commission until it was transferred to the Department of Justice or DOJ. The prison law incorporated in Chapter 45 of the Revised Administrative Code of 1917, Section 26 of the Administrative Code of 1987, issued November 23, 1989 under the Proclamation Number 495, the President of the Philippines changed the name of the Bureau of Prison to Bureau of Corrections. On May 24, 2013, President Benigno Simon C. Aquino III signed into law the Republic of Act of 575, otherwise known as the Bureau of Corrections Act of 2013, which provides for the modernization of jurisdiction. Code of Kalantiao. Code of Kalantiao. The Code of Raha Kalantiao was supposed to be a legal code in the epic history Maragtas that is said to have been written in 1433 by Dato Kalantiao, a chief on the island of Negros in the Philippines. The code is now believed by many historians to have been a hoax in that it had actually been written in 1013 by Jose Marco as a part of this historical fiction, Las Antiguas Leyendas de la Isla de Negros, or in the ancient legends of the island of Negros, which he attributed to a priest named Jose Marco. General history. In the famous epic of Maragtas, there was this mythical legal code called the Code of Kalantiao. It was named after its supposed author, Dato Kalantiao, who allegedly wrote in 1433. Dato Kalantiao was a chief on the island of Negros. It was written about by Jose Marco in 1913 in his historical fiction, Las Antiguas Leyendas de la Isla de Negros, the ancient legends of the island of Negros. He ascribed its source to a priest named Jose Maria Cabong. The historian Jose Songcoya wrote about the Code of Kalantiao in 1917 in his book, Historia Prehispana de Filipinas, the Pre-Hispanic History of the Philippines, where he transferred the location of the origin of the code from Negros into Papuanay because he contended that said code may be related to a Binarayan festival. The story in this code has been recognized through the ages by known authors. In 1968, however, historian William Henry Scott called this a hoax in his book, Pre-Hispanic Source Materials for the Study of Philippines History. Consequently, Filipino historians agreed to expunge the Code of Kalantiao in future materials on Philippine history. Although the said code ceases to be part of the text of Philippine history, however, many still believe its validity. Article 1. You shall not kill, neither shall you steal, neither shall you do harm to a aged, with your uncorded danger of death. All those who infringe this order shall be condemned to death by their drowned in the river or boiling water. Article 2. You shall not kill, neither shall you steal, neither shall you do harm to the aged. Obey, let no one have moment that are very young or more than he can support, nor be given to excessive lust. He who does not comply with, obey, and observe this order shall be confined between 3 hours for the first time and for the second time to be beaten with the death with the sharp thorns. Observe number 4. Observe and obey, let not one disturb the quiet of the graves, when passing by the graves and the trees where they are, give them respect to them. Because he who does not observe shall be killed by ants or beaten to death with thorns. Article 5. You shall obey he who exchanges for food, let it be always done in accordance with this word. He who does not comply shall be beaten for 1 hour. He who repeats the offense shall be exposed for 1 day among ants. Article 6. You shall be obliged to reverse sites that are held in respect, such as those of trees of Nicholas Worth and other sites. He who fails to comply shall pay with 1 month's work in gold or in honey. Article 7. They shall be put to death who kills stirs of venerable appearance, who shoot arrows at night at old men and women. He who enters houses of the headmen without permission. He who kills a shark or a snake by cayman. Article 8. Slavery for a dome. A certain period of time shall be suffered by those who steal away the women of the headman by him to keep temper dogs that bite the headman by him who birds the fields of another. Article 9. All these shall be beaten for 2 days, who seeing while traveling by night, kill the man while tear the documents belonging to the headman and malicious liars, or who mock the dead. Article 10. It is decreed an obligation that every mother teach secretly to her daughters matters pertaining to laws and prepare them for womanhood, that not men be cruel punish women when they catch them in the act of adultery. Whoever shall disobey shall be killed by being cut to pieces and thrown to the caimans. Article 11. He shall be burned by concerned of cunning and have mocked and escaped punishment, or those who have killed young boys or tried to steal away from the women from the married. This shall be drowned all who interfere with their superiors or their owners or masters, all those who abuse themselves with lust, to those who destroy their anitos or idols by breaking them or throwing them down. Article 13. All this shall be exposed to an for half day, who kill dark cats during a new moon, or sell anything from the chiefs or agorans, however small the object may be. Article 14. These shall be made slaves for life, who have beautiful daughters, and deny them to the sons of chiefs with bad faith. Article 15. Concerning the beliefs of superstitious, just shall be beaten who eat the possessed flesh at best, with the old respect of the herb with escape from the reward or the kill of the manual. Article 16. The fingers shall be cut off of all those who build idols of wood and clay in their islands and temples, all those who destroy the daggers of the Tagalongs or break the drinking jars of the Latin. Karantiao Shrine. On December 18, 1956, the Philippine Historical Commission, in honor to Dato Karantiao, put up historical marker and monument in more than a half happened by the Municipal Government of Bataan. It is used to be the seat of government of Rahab Alejandra Karantiao III, then the third chief of Panay and promulgator of the famous Code of Karantiao. Its marker was constructed by the Philippine Historical and Cultural Society. Bilibid Prison. Bilibid Prison, the Manila City Jail, popularly known as the Old Bilibid Prison, is a detention center in Manila, Philippines. The jail is one of the most overcrowded in the world. History, 19th and 20th century. The Old Bilibid Prison, then known as the Caroline Presidio Correctional, occupied a rectangular piece of land that was part of the Mahalig state of the heart of Manila. The old prison was established by the Spanish colonial government on 25 June 1865 via royal decree. It was divided into two sections: the Cárcel, which could accommodate 600 inmates, and the Presidio, which could hold 125 prisoners. The Commonwealth of the Philippines enacted the Commonwealth and Act No. 67 and 23 of October 1936, which allocated 1 million Philippine pesos to build a new prison, the Muntinlupa, on 551 hectares of land in an area that was considered at the time to be remote. Construction began the same year. In 1940, the prisoners' equipment and facilities were transferred from Old Bilibid to New Prison, which is officially named the New Bilibid Prison. The remnants of the old city became the Manila City Jail. Present day, the Manila City Jail became overcrowded at the start of the Rodrigo Duterte administration during the crackdown on the drug-related crimes. In September 2019, 2 inmates were killed and 32 were injured in a riot that began with an argument between 2 members of rival gangs over a sleeping space. At the time, the dormitory in the facility where the fight broke out was housing 800 inmates despite having a 200-person capacity. As the COVID-19 pandemic began to spread in 2020, a spokesperson for the Manila City Jail told the BCBN News that the jail was housing more than 4 times in intended capacity with the 400 inmates in the facility. The jail began to allow the inmates to stay open spaces with the jail compound to increase physical distancing. Family visits were disallowed, and the jail added 10 computers to allow for visits via video chat in Jail employees were put under lockdown and not allowed to return home beginning 20 March 2020. An old building previously used to quarantine tuberculosis patients was established as an isolation location for potential COVID-19 patients. The jail spokesperson told ABS-CBN that as of now, Manila City Jail remains COVID-19 free. However, ABS-CBN noted that no one of the positive had been tested in April 2020. International non-government organization Human Rights was expressed with the concern that due to incomplete reporting by the Philippine government, COVID-19 might be spreading more quickly widely citing spiral detention centers that it appeared. Facility. The 24-hectare Manila City Jail has the capacity to house 1,100 inmates, operating at an average of 463.6% occupancy. Detention centers in the Philippines are the second most overcrowded in the world. As of March 2020, there was 4,800 inmates in the Manila City Jail, making the Philippines top on the list of countries with the most overcrowded prisons, with the average of facility population exceeding 600% capacity. At that time, the Manila City Jail was housing 6,300 inmates, 90% of whom were pretrial detainees. Also, as of December 2018, the ratio of guard to inmates was 1,200, considerably higher than international guidelines, which recommend a ratio of 1:7 in January 2019. The New York Times reported that during one shift, the ratio was 1/paternity day. Due to overcrowding, inmates sleep in shifts, many sleep inside by side, and all available floors based on stairways, including hallways and bathrooms. Some do not have room to lay down and must sleeping sitting up. Those who can afford it pay the inmates who act as dorm leaders to allow them to sleep in 2-by-2 meter cubicles and cold cubules. Although gangs are forbidden, officials allow them to operate because they help maintain order. A spokesperson for the Manila City Jail told the New York Times in 2019, "Formally, we don't allow inmates to police other inmates. Informally, we do because of the lack of resources. The gangs have no enforcer such as those forbidding fighting and approaching other inmates, visitors. They also maintain communal funds and they can help preserve food, which is scarce within the facility." Human rights concerns. Lilia Armamento, a member of Philippine Government Commissions on Human Rights, has said that the overcrowding in the Philippines jails constitutes torture, according to the United Nations Subcommittee on Prevention of Torture. The international NGO Human Rights Watch raised the concerns in April 2020 that COVID-19 was spreading more quickly and widely in Philippine detention centers than reporting suggested, and urged the authorities to investigate the causes of deaths in the facilities, reduce prison population, and implement other measures to prevent the spread of the virus. Amnesty International raised concerns the same month over the risk of the Philippine presence on detention facilities to become a hotspots of the COVID-19 pandemic. Amnesty International raised concerns the same month over the risk of the Philippine prisons and detention facilities to become hotspots on the COVID-19 pandemic. Amnesty urged authorities to release prisoners saying their health is at immediate risk due to a lack of space, food, water, hygiene, and health care. The massive overcrowding is partially due to the fact that roughly 77% of the detainees are pre-trial or remand prisoners. Many of them are being held without a trial for years, sometimes for minor offenses. Historical events. On June 25, 1826, the Old Bilibid Prison, the first national penitentiary in the country, was established in Manila under Spanish royal decree. It was divided into two sections: the Carcel section housing 800 inmates and the Presidio accommodating 527 prisoners. About 7 decades later, due to increasing population and crime rate, Commonwealth Act No. 667 was enacted and the new Bilibid prisons and BP was constructed in Muntinlupa, Rizal in 1936 with a budget of 1 million pesos and an initial land area of about 51 hectares. The old prison's equipment and facilities were transferred to BNBP in 1940. The remnants of the old facility was used by the City of Manila as its detention center, known today as the Manila City Jail. San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm. San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm. According to historical accounts, the San Ramon Prison was established in the southern Zamboanga on August 21, 1870, through a royal decree promulgated in 1869, established during the tenure of Governor General Ramon Blanco. The facility was originally established for persons convicted of political crimes. Considered the oldest penal facility in the country, prisoners in San Roman were required to do agricultural work during the Spanish-American War in 1898. The prisoners in San Roman were released in the buildings instead. In 1907, the American administration established the prison farm. In 1912, General John Pershing, Chief Executive of the Department of Mindanao and Sulu, classified the institution as a prison and penal colony that identified people sentenced by the courts under his jurisdiction. Under Pershing's supervision, several buildings with a capacity of 600 prisoners were constructed. On November 1, 1905, the Organization Act No. 1407 was approved, creating the Bureau of Prisons under the Department of Commerce and Police, integrating the Bilibid Prison, San Ramon Penal Colony, and Iwahig Penal. The Philippine Coconut Cooperative took over the management of the coconut farm from San Ramon. In 1995, Congresswoman Maria Clara Rodriguez proposed the transfer of San Ramon Prison to Bungyao Town in the mountainous area of Zamboanga. Iwahig Penal Colony. After several years, the colony became politically self-supporting with the 75,000 coconut trees which were planted in the beginning of the Pershing's administration, contributing to the colony's self-sufficiency. Aside from coconuts, rice, corn, papaya, and other crops were also cultivated. Iwahig Prison and Penal Farm. Iwahig Prison and Penal Farm was established during the American occupation. It was, however, during the Spanish regime and the Princesa was designated as a place where the offenders sentenced to banishment were exiled. This area of Princesa was selected as the site of correctional facility. The American military carried out the prison to the city in the rainforest. Puerto Princesa, the institution had for its superintendent, Lieutenant George Wolfe. Member of the U.S. Subsidiary Force who later became the first prisoners director. Governor Locke authorized the establishment of a penal colony in the province of Palawan on November 16, 1904. This penal settlement, which originally comprised an area of 22 acres, originally served as the depository of Filipino prisoners who could not be accommodated in the Bilibid prison in Manila. In 1906, however, the Department of Commerce and Police moved to turn the institution to the center of the penal colony, supervising the contents with the terms of the government. To run department regards the Philippine Commission of the United States Government Act of 1973 and 1907, specifying the settlement as a penal institution. The settlement was at first beset by attempted escapes, but under the supervision of Colonel John R. White of the Philippine Constabulary, who would become superintendent of Iwahig in 1906, the colony became successful settlement. The merit system was devised into prisoners and vocational activities were offered. This included farming, fishing, etc. Now prisoners could choose the vocational activities they wanted. In 1955, the Administrative Order No. 20 was promulgated by the President and implemented by the Secretary of Justice and Secretary of Agriculture and Natural Resources. This order allowed the distribution of colonial lands and the cultivation within the serving colonies, the convenience and qualification of colonies who wishes to apply for a lot of cultivated. The conditions for the surplus is loan requirements and marketing the surplus produced. In 1955, the Administrative Order No. 20 was promulgated by the President and implemented by the Secretary of Justice and the Secretary of Agriculture and Natural Resources. This order allowed the distribution of colonial lands of the cultivation by the serving colonies. On August 16, 1959, committee was created by the President Carlos B. Garcia to study the regional national prisons. Accordingly, the prisoners in the Iwahig were divided into two groups: the settlers and the colonists. The settlers are those who engage in the farming of their own benefit. They are the ones who do applications to own land or cultivate. Being approved, the government punishes the racial comments for dwelling the beasts of burden. They are required to reimburse expenditures incurred for their maintenance and the of their families out of products of their farms. Upon their release from the colony, they receive whatever amount of money they have credited in their favor, after deducting the obligations there. The Hague is subdivided into 4 zones of community: Central Subcolony with an area of 14,700 hectares, the Central Ocean 19,900 hectares, 1 hectares, and Nanawagan with 13,000 hectares. National Institute for Women. Correctional Institute for Women, in a report dated January 22, 1959, submitted to a committee treated by Administrative Order Number 287 for separate building and controls Society for Women, as well as all the consumers in the believed in Central Street Manila, the male prisoners were confined in dormitories near women's quarters. Legislation started by the Philippine Legislature, passed by the Republic Act of 9579, number 1999, it authorized the terms of all women inmates building military at Mandaluyas and operate 60K for the move. Prison authorities were aware of the conditions that the women prisoners had endured. Consequently, the transfer of the women to a separate site became inevitable after a series of legislation operated by the prison director Ramon Victorio of the Philippine Legislature, passed by the Republic Act No. 3579. The number 1929 authorized the transfer of all women inmates to a building in Mandaluyong, Rizal, and appropriated 60K for the move. Because of these conditions, educational activities of the women prisoners were limited to embroidery. When they became ill, the women were confined in a separate building which is served as hospital with nurses and prison physicians. When women prisoners needed surgery, they were operated in the Bilibid prison. After the operation, they were transferred to the infirmary convalescence. Broadly February 1991, the women prisoners were transferred from the old Bilibid prison in the building, especially instructed for them. Old name women's prisoners changed to correctional institution women. This was keeping the merged lines in the penology, which was in process correctional after the punishment. Correctional were back to prison. Minister adjusted and rehabilitated with water. For beef fertility. According to the Senate report, occupied 86 hectares. The original structure was a one-story building with its roads, the office, the bridges, the small hall, kitchen, chapel, and primary bathrooms and employees' restrooms. The building has a central courtyard with its trees and flowering plants. Prisoners' educational activities were expanded. Perhaps by process includes the big quarters of the institution place were later constructed by the compound. During the Japanese occupation, the CIW displayed a drastic reduction in the number of employees. Linked this work, a number of female military prisoners were also confined in the institution. They were later freed by the U.S. Army. After the war, the Correctional Institution for Women resumed its normal operations with lack of the season. Classes were introduced, a dental clinic was built, the block of telephones were established in the part of quarters. The body of the public works must major repairs on the main building, the workshop, and infirmary were constructed in the Amos used the infirmary during the time that accommodated around 16 members. The 20,000-story building was constructed by the Department of Public Works within the grounds of CIW. It placed the growing congestion of the forest city. The capacity of 200 inmates had to accommodate 1,000 inmates. The Bureau of Public Works made major repairs on the main building, and a workshop and infirmary were constructed in the inmates. The year served an accommodation of 16 patients. In 2000, a new first-story building was constructed by the department. Bilibid prison has conducted an increase in the prison population, prompted the government to plan on develop a new site of the National Penitentiary. The organization of Manila understood the being by conservative groups support the idea of transferring the old Bilibid prison to a new site So the plan was considered a remote on the outskirts or of the urban center. According to Commonwealth of 1967 was enacted to provide 1 million pesos for the construction of a new national peace in Tinuca on November 15. The hotel and midst of the four Bilibid prison in Manila were transferred to a new site. The new institution had a capacity of 10,000 prisoners and it was usually named the New Bilibid Prison on January 22, 1941. According to Commonwealth Act No. 67 was enacted to provide 1 million pesos for the construction of National Prison in Tinuca on November 15. National Bilibid Prison in Manila by transferred to the new site. The new institution had a capacity of 3,000 prisoners and it was usually named the New Bilibid. According to Commonwealth Act 1961 was enacted to pay 1 million pesos for the construction of an new national prison in Tinuca. In 1915, the party at that time so dissolved the prison in Manila by a city of 3,000 prisoners and Bilibid in January 2021. According the prison was division of an area of 587 hectares, part of which was available to peace compound of an area of 300 meters of the total 9 hectares. It was surrounded by 3 layers of barbed. The institution became the maximum security. After the World War II, there was a circuit of steel metal in the inventory and it was used to improve the security fence. The set was in the work further reinforced with the concrete slabs. In the 1980s, the height of the concrete wall was increased in another fully constructed 2.5 meters from the main building. The NBP expanded the construction of new security facilities. There were the Major Security Hub, which was used in the military traffic during Mashawa, and the Minimum Security Camp, whose first site was to extend the Bukong River. This was done within another site within the reservation. The increase in the prison population. Its population was affected the segregation system, several under the Pachysas prison installation, among them the halfway house and the juvenile training center. Both projects are supported by the funds from Japan through the presentation of the Disciplinary Committee of Napoleon. On January 22, 1941, the night lecture was transferred to a New Bilibid prison. The chamber was constructed in the rear area of the camp and the mode of execution was the electrocution. Today is a security zone in the prison dictated of the San Francis I have. Davao Penal Colony. Davao Penal Colony is the first penal government founded in the organization under Filipino administration, the citadel of which originally had an area of approximately 30,000 hectares in the distance of Panabo and Taguig. Davao del Norte. This act authorized the Governor General to release or sell the San Plans, buildings improvements in San Ramon Basin and the Wahig Penal Colony. It also granted the authority to the Secretary of Justice to establish a new prison and penal colony in the suitable public land. Budget of 500,000 was allocated. Several committees were created to a big number. In accordance with the recommendation of these committees, Governor Dwight Davidson for Resolution No. 4 and 5 of 1731, which is serve as site for the penal colony in the world. Province Mindanao, the site offered the idea of visions for additional chief. During World War II, the colony was converted into a national for more than 1,000 Japanese in the prison committed by the Philippine American Armed Forces. Japanese were treated in accordance with the orders of the American commanding officer. The reunification of the colony exile was authorized by the Virtue of the Memorandum number 60, dated June 28, 1943, and signed by the Director of Prisons. After the liberation of Philippines, the colony in exile in Palawan returned to its site in Davao. A great deal of rebuilding and repair had to be done because the war had almost completed. Sablayan Pinaka. In December 20, 1941, the Japanese Imperial Forces attacked Davao, and the colony was among the established and saving over the invading army. Its entire settlement was known as a confusion, and a great number of prisoners escaped. Normal patients numbers of the units were numbers 8 and Liverpool. Representative of the director of the prisons was told by the colony and its properties to the Japanese authorities. The remaining colony employees and communists and inmates of Partitua Iwahig were the organized the Davao colony of Naga. Central Place. Sablayan Pinaka, near to the Manila and the other Pinakons. The Sablayan Pinaka is located in the Occidental Mindoro at the native new established in September 26, 1954 by virtue of the Presidential Nation and President. Prison records show that the first colonists and the place were in Cebu in January 15, 1955. Since then, several buildings have been constructed including the colonists and the tourists. The squatters, guardhouse, schoolhouse, chapel, recreation hall, and fox exchange. Miracle supplements were later organized when its reservation recently remains as part of protected ventures. Another is a coastal era. Later it was used by the national government as a relocation site for refugees on the eruption of Mount Pinatubo eruption in 1991. Sablayan prison is now facilitated with prisoners from Leyte. Throughout by the district of the follows the same colony status as there are Leyte parts. Leyte Regional Prison. Leyte Regional Prison. Leyte Regional Prisons located in Albayog. The Leyte was established the year after the declaration of martial law in 1972 by virtue of Presidential Decree No. 28. While its material and institutional plan were almost ideal, lack of funds made the prison unable to realize its full potential. Its facilities are often below par compared to those of established therapy as an inmate capacity. Thank you for watching. Throughout the Semi-Ritual format as the main correctional program in addition to some rehabilitation activities in the prison list of liquor offenders from June 6 and 4. And that's all. Thank you for watching.